أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. قال تعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن الناس والدواب والأنعام مختلف ألوانه كذلك إنما يخشى الله من عباده العلماء. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
I really urge my dear sisters to make sure that the kids are sitting down and quiet. Otherwise, they can use other rooms so we can continue with our speech. Anyway, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah emphasized something important. And we know that Allah have stated the purpose of creation. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. There is one purpose, and that's to do worship and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what kind of prayers? Any kind? Just you go and do the prayers and become oblivious of whom we are praying? Or we should have certainty. We should know to whom we are praying and for what purpose we are praying. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam has very elegant statement. He says, إن قوما عبدوا الله خوفا منه وتلك عبادة العبيد وإن قوما عبدوا الله طمعا في جنته فتلك عبادة التجار ووالله. Then he talks about himself. ووالله ما عبدتك خوفا من نارك ولا طمعا في جنتك وإنما وجدتك أهلا للعبادة فعبدتك. He says, alayhi salam, he says that there are people who pray to Allah due to the fact that they fear Him. And this is the worship of slaves. At the same time, there are people who worship Him to envy or to hope or long for the paradise, for the heavens. And this sort of a prayer is for the entrepreneurs, for the businessmen. While my prayers is independent. This is ibadatul ahrar. It is the one who is free because I have seen Allah. Someone deserves to be worshipped. So number one, it comes about certainty. We need to know to whom we are praying. He himself, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, says, أول الدين معرفته. The first thing to start with is to know who's the Lord. And that's the whole concept, brothers and sisters, is about tawheed. Not only just to know that there is God who has created this universe and that's it. Because the same idea used to be having or to serve by the pagans. The mushrikeen of Quraysh themselves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you ask them, you tell them, who are you worshipping? They say, Allah. وَلَئِنْ سَأَلْتَهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَسَخَّرَ الشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ لَيَقُولَنَّ اللَّهِ. Yet, they are still considered to be ignorant, jahiliyyah. Why? Because what they perceive from Allah, not the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want from you. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So certainty and knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with full knowledge is something mandatory. You see people, they become old still, they have no idea whom they are worshipping or whether there is heaven or hell. Umar ibn Sa'd, during the time of Ashura, was 75 years old, almost 80 years old. This man have seen Rasulullah, have met Rasulullah, have seen Rasulullah by eyes. His father is the 6th person who have entered Islam, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. But right at his last year of age, when he was about to commit his crime and kill Abi Abdullah al-Hussein, he was in doubt. He didn't know whether there is heaven or not. There is Allah or not. Is there a punishment or not? So despite the fact that he did the prayer, salat, even on the day of Ashura, but yet he could not identify to which one he is praying. Therefore, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam has again another elegant hadith. Says, نوم على يقين خير من عبادة على شك. Meaning that at least take a rest, sleep, while you are knowing who's your Lord. Have a good idea about your Lord and the God that you are praying. Better than you do multiple prayers, but you fail to identify Him. Imagine somebody invites you for his home, but instead of going to that person, you go to someone else. You attend someone else. Or you send your gifts, your postcards, to a wrong address. No matter how valuable is that thing. Does it get to the person that you have sent him? No. That's why Tawheed always emphasizes on this fact. To start knowing your Lord. To start knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, when you look at Quran, you see that Allah always emphasizes on looking at the signs of Allah. Read the ayat, the signs that will bring you to Allah. You cannot see Allah. We cannot feel Allah. But here is a good example to tell us where to go. And that is by looking at the ayat. Therefore, you see Quran is full in abundance with those verses that admonish Muslims, admonish the reader, the people, to go after the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As it says, إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ لَآيَاتٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. The change in the day and night, looking at the creation, the skies, the heavens, the earth, آيَاتٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ, for those people who reflect. الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. They meditate, they think, رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا. Eventually they come up with a conclusion. You look, you see, and then you come up with a conclusion. Another ayah. وَفِي الْأَرْضِ آيَاتٌ لِلْمُوقِنِينَ. If you pay attention to the signs, and especially on this earth, on the law of nature, on this nature, you will recognize that somebody has created those. وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ, even inside your own bodies. So one of the ayats that tells people and admonishes people to look and search for the signs of Allah is this ayah. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ وَالدَّوَابِّ وَالْأَنْعَامِ مُخْتَلِفٌ أَلْوَانُهُ. That you look at the diversity. Look at everything. And instead of searching for God Himself, you try to be like a philosopher, to study about the nature of Allah, His essence, where He came from, was it He created or not. And instead, concentrate on the ayat, on the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi says, don't waste your time on studying the nature of Allah. فَكِّرُوا فِي خَلْقِ اللَّهِ وَلَا تُفَكِّرُوا فِي اللَّهِ فَتَهْلَكُوا. You will be vanished if you keep thinking. You will be misled if you keep thinking about the essence of Allah. Something beyond our scope. But do you want to learn about Allah? Read about His production. Today, anyone wants to see the greatness, the eminence of someone. Do you study his appearance? His hairstyle, for example, the way he dresses? Or no, you see the production. What he produces, which kind of papers he writes, which kind of books he writes. From his books, from what he produces, you get to learn the greatness of this man. The same thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't bother, don't look at me. You won't find me. Why? لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There is nothing comparable to Allah. And when He says shay, meaning any material, anything. There are few people, some Muslim scholars, they say, yes, He has eyes, but not like every other eye. He has head, but not every other head. So what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There is nothing comparable to Him. And when He says nothing comparable, meaning anything that's contained in this world of matter. Therefore, don't waste your time on studying the nature of Allah like the philosophers do. Rather, concentrate on the signs. If you concentrate on the signs, and we meditate and reflect, at that time we pay attention to the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad
is it important to use our senses to find Allah? You see, there are many ways, multiple ways that you come to the conclusion about the imminence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But one of them is using our own senses. By nature, human always use their perceptions, their five senses, in order to understand their surroundings. I use my eyes to see you, my ears to hear you, my touch to feel things, right? It is with those that we come to understand this universe. Otherwise, I cannot deduct by own brain, merely by my brain, I cannot deduct how does the universe look like, how does the world look like. Rather, I use my own perception. This is reasonable, this is natural that people always use their eyes. And we have a proverb in English that says, seeing is believing. Once you see something, then you come to realize that this thing is available, this thing exists. So people use their own senses. That's why you see that God, when He sent so many prophets, He equipped them with miracles, right? What are those miracles? Basically things that you can feel them by your senses. Musa alayhi salam had the stick. By the stick it turns to a python, to a snake, something that you can feel is something tangible, physical thing. Isa alayhi salam used to resurrect the dead, used to incarnate the bird from the clay, used to heal and cure the ills. All of those have to deal with our own senses. Whenever they become tangible, then we feel them and we believe them. In the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, use your own perception in order to realize that there is God. Even the prophets. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, when did he ask Allah? He said, قَالَ رَبِّ أَرِنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى. Show me, I need to see it by my eyes. How can you resurrect the dead? قَالَ أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ. You have not believed yet? He said, yes, I have believed, but yet I need to see it by my eyes. The Iranians also have a beautiful proverb. It says, شَنِيدًا كَيْبُوَدْ وَنَنْدَدِينَ. Is that right? Meaning that you hear something, but sometimes you see it by your eyes. Much better to see it by your eyes. It gives you more assurance that that thing exists. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you use your eyes and you look at the signs of Allah and then think about them, meditate, then you will see the significance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They say there is a beautiful story. They said one guy, a Bedouin guy in the desert, in the road, he lost his camel. So he kept searching until he noticed somebody is coming from the desert. He asked him, have you seen a camel? The guy told him, I have not seen the camel, but I can search with you. So they kept searching. After a while, he asked him, is your camel one-eyed? He said, yes, one-eyed. Have you seen him? He said, no, I did not see him. After a few minutes, he told him, is your camel lame? Meaning one of his legs are broken and he just walks on one leg. He said, yes, how do you know that he's lame? Have you seen it? He said, no, I have not. Then after a while, he told him that the camel that you have, does it have tail or it's tailless? I think it's tailless, it doesn't have tail. He said, yes. It must be that you have seen the camel and you have stolen the camel. He said, no, I have not seen it. Anyway, the guy grabbed him and took him to the judge. That this guy has given the best identification of this camel, yet he denies that he has seen it. So the judge told him, what's going on? You have identified the camel. He said, yes, I did not see the camels, but I saw the signs. First of all, when you look at the road and you see the bushes, only one side of the road, the bushes have been eaten, the other side have not. That tells you that the guy, the camel, has lost one of his eyes. The second thing, when I look at the steps, his footsteps, I see one of them is deep, very stable, while the